All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back, and let's just say that April 21st, 2016 was definitely a dark day. Okay, just gonna recall my count. So on Thursdays, I don't have class until 6:30, so I'm able to stay up a little later. I don't have to go to sleep as a time I usually would, like around 11 or so. Since I wake up at 5 on Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 a.m. class, they're killer. So I was just going through my Facebook feed and I saw that someone shared a post from uh, Chyna, former female professional wrestler in the late '90s, early 2000s, hugely popular. And I saw someone share a post from that page, and they said that she passed away. Now, at first, I didn't believe it. I thought it might have been. Now, I'm not saying it would have been a joke, but I wasn't even sure that was her official page. And I was hearing all the stuff, and I was like, no, none of the big news outlets have covered it yet. But then a couple of minutes later, it was pretty much confirmed that she passed away. So that really hurt. But then it didn't get better that day because this is around like midnight, around 1 a.m. or whatever. So later in the day, of course, around 12, around noon, 1 p.m., there was news that there was a body found at the estate of Prince. Now I wasn't sure if it was him or not, but they said it was a body. And then later in the day, we found out it was Prince. So there were two huge losses in a 24-hour span. I mean, this huge blows. Prince was definitely one of the greatest musicians of all time, a legend, an icon. And I'm sure he's gonna be talked about a lot in some of these other radio shows. I mean, no disrespect to him, of course, great musician. He will definitely be missed. But I want to talk about, uh, Chyna. This is a woman who kind of revolutionized the world of female wrestling. She changed the way that women wanted to actually be portrayed in the WWE and professional wrestling as a whole. Because you have to remember that when she was in the company, when she was active on the WWE roster, most of the women at the time had very similar traits. They were either they were mostly treated as eye candy. They all had similar traits. They all had the large breasts. They all had like blonde hair. And they were all kind of they were all small, big-breasted, women, and they had minimal wrestling ability, and they were just eye candy. But Chyna was a lot different. She was muscular. While she might not have been the ideal attractive woman for a lot of guys, she definitely revolutionized how women in the WWE should be looked at. She was. I'll just go through some of the stuff. She goes by the name of Chyna, but her birth name is Joni Laura. She was born in Rochester, New York. She unfortunately passed away at the age of 47 in Redondo Beach, California. Um, she debuted in 1997 as a member of D-Generation X, one of the greatest wrestling stables of all time. And she embarked on a singles career in which she dominated the women's division. She became the first woman to win the Royal Rumble, or to be in the Royal Rumble. She even won a title that's usually reserved for men, which is the Intercontinental Championship. The only woman to do that ever. So that's a really, really huge deal. Uh, while women aren't really part of a huge part, there's a little part, but there might not be a huge part of the fan base of professional wrestling, not just WWE, but the profession as a whole. She definitely inspired a lot of women that they don't have to have the girl next door look in order to be successful in the company. So she was definitely revolutionized that way. She revolutionized the way women have to look. She was more muscular. She was really tall. She was billed as the Amazon, like as an Amazon, because of her size, and she just dominated. Now there's this whole controversy with her going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Now the thing about the WWE Hall of Fame is it really can't be taken too seriously because there's a lot of members that really shouldn't be in there because they haven't had much success, and also the fact that it's a scripted, entity. That's another thing, and also another fact is there's no actual physical building to or like any physical Hall of Fame at all. So, and there's also a celebrity wing with people like Drew Carey and Snoop Dogg in it. So I mean, although Snoop Dogg has done more in the WWE than Drew Carey has, but that's for another time. Um, Chyna has been barred from the Hall of Fame. Now, while there's a lot of detail in the story, it's gonna be a lot. It has something to do with Triple H. Now, Triple H is married to Stephanie McMahon, which is Vince's daughter, and they were in a relationship together when apparently Triple H and Chyna were still together. And because of that, Chyna and Vince in the WWE kind of burned bridges, and they didn't let her into Hall of Fame. She constantly kept trying to, convince Vince, to convince the WWE that she wants to be recognized and she wants to be in the Hall of Fame. But the WWE just wouldn't budge, and that's when her life started going downhill. She ended up making a sex tape with Sean Waltman, or as wrestling fans in the WWE know him as X-Pac. Then she ended up entering the adult entertainment industry. And that right there was kind of like, I shouldn't say nail in the coffin. That's kind of disrespectful now, but that was kind of, I can't say death blow either. That was, I guess you could say, the coup de grace of her going to the Hall of Fame at that moment, of her not going to the Hall of Fame. Excuse me, that's how the term is used. Of her not going to the Hall of Fame. They're not gonna have someone who is actively well known in the adult entertainment industry to be put into the Hall of Fame. See, with Sunny, it was different. She was already in the Hall of Fame, and then she got into the adult entertainment industry. Chyna was a lot different, and also with the whole controversy with Triple H, X-Pac, and Stephanie McMahon and all that. So she wasn't gonna be in the Hall of Fame, but it's unfortunate to say this. Excuse me. It's unfortunate to say this, and also a little morbid. But now that she's passed, they're probably gonna put her in the Hall of Fame. Because the thing about another reason actually that I forgot to mention, Vince McMahon didn't trust Chyna to say, didn't trust her in a Hall of Fame speech not to, bash the company or say anything negative about them. So, now that she's, dead, they won't have to worry about that. They're probably gonna have someone in her family, or maybe even Triple H or whoever, induct her in. And it's quite sad that she had to die in order for this to happen. I mean, it's kind of they have to. But then again, it's almost like they lose either way, because if they don't put her in a Hall of Fame, the fans are gonna complain that she should be in a Hall of Fame. It's disrespectful to not put her in. She passed away. But then if they do put her in a Hall of Fame, people are still gonna complain like, "Oh, you're just exploiting the fact that she died. Only because she died, you're gonna put her in a Hall of Fame." Kind of like what they did with Eddie Guerrero when he passed. They used him being dead as they exploited it. They had Rey Mysterio, one of his best friends, in the Royal Rumble, and have him have a terrible championship reign, or have him win the title. Excuse me, the Royal Rumble and the title, and his championship reign was awful. Eddie Guerrero's name popped up so many times. There was the infamous moment when when Randy Orton told Rey Mysterio that Eddie Guerrero was in hell. That was extremely. That was very controversial, and they were exploiting Eddie's death. Now, if Chyna going to Hall of Fame is not exploiting her death at all, okay, but it's what they have to do. Now, in terms of the death itself, it's still a mystery as to how she passed away. It was probably some sort of overdose, but they're still investigating right now. But yeah, she was. It didn't seem like she was doing all that well pretty recently. I mean, I saw this video she made 4 months ago, like around January, where she did seem really happy and healthy, but it seemed like she was going back into that bad stage, and I guess it just all culminated in her dying. So it's unfortunate. The wrestling world has lost a lot of people recently. Roddy Piper, ECW, Extreme Legend Balls Mahoney, a lot of people. In the past couple months, and Chyna has to be added to that list, which is unfortunate because she was only 47 years old. I mean, she still had a whole life ahead of her. She was. I know I mentioned this earlier, but she was a pioneer in women's wrestling. She had a whole different style that was not seen. She was called the ninth wonder of the world because the WWE has never seen, and probably will never see, a woman like her compete between those ropes. She was part of, like I mentioned, she was part of DX. She was, she was part of DX, and DX is one of the most important factions in not just WWE history, but professional wrestling history, really. They too revolutionized the way factions should be, the way you have like a group of rebels. Those guys in NWO, they really helped shape, the world of pro wrestling. So, it's April 21st, 2016 is definitely a dark day in entertainment. Chyna passing away, Prince passing away. To some, one might be more important than the other. That's depends on who you are. But to someone like me, while I didn't really listen to Prince at all, really, I still recognize the fact that he was a musical legend and a genius and an icon. So that's right there is my tribute to the ninth wonder of the world, Joni Lore, aka Chyna. So that's it for this week. Hopefully, I don't know why I said hopefully, but may Chyna rest in peace, and may Prince rest in peace as well. So that's it for this week's episode of the Count Out. I know this weekend is spring weekend for a lot of you. I hope you all have an excellent time. I'm not gonna be. I'm just gonna be home. But it's not, the whole spring weekend thing's not really my thing. Kidding, it's not all that good, but that's something else. So I hope you guys all enjoy listening. I will be back next week. If you have listened to Bobby Baez, the voice of Iona College Wrestling. Why do I call myself the voice? Well, from the great words of Stone Cold Steve Austin, because I said so. Have a good day, everyone.